Okay, welcome to my 250 subscriber special. A gigantic, absolutely humongous Doctor Who book recommendations video. So yeah, first of all, before we get into the meat of this video, I would just like to, it's just so hard to manage. I would like to thank you guys all so much for 250 subscribers. It really does mean a lot. And it does show a lot that people are interested in my channel and whatnot, and considering the main theme of this channel is books, I thought the kind of ideal 250 subscriber special would be a gigantic, absolutely massive Doctor Who book recommendations video. Yeah, without further ado, let's begin this recommendation. To start off this video, I am going to be first of all recommending some Doctor Who books, which I would say are a good place to start. All of these books here, I would say, are really light in terms of their actual kind of genre, and are not like kind of hard on with their genre or something like that. It's not necessarily like a hard on sci-fi novel or a hard on historical novel. So all of these are like a lot lighter in comparison to other Doctor Who books I'll be showcasing in this video. Okay then, starting off my kind of starter recommendations, I would recommend Human Nature. Probably the most iconic Doctor Who novel ever, this one. You've probably all heard of it, you probably all know it. And you've probably, most of you have probably seen the television story Human Nature and Family Blood for the 10th Doctor era. So yeah, really good novel, this one. I wouldn't say it's as good as people say it is, but still I would say this is an absolutely fantastic Doctor Who historical book, and yeah, it's practically essential to read. It's pretty much the most iconic Doctor Who book ever. It's so kind of famous and all of that, and I would definitely say it's a really good place to start with the Doctor Who novel. Yeah, that's Human Nature. Next up, I would also recommend from the History Collection, Shadow in the Glass, for starters, if you're starting off with your Doctor Who books. This one is so good to the point where I actually even got it personally signed by Conor Baker at Belfast Film and Comic Con this year. Yes, that's how good this book is. So yeah, Shadow in the Glass, again quite a fairly light historical, it's more of a blend of historical and sci-fi, and even actually has the resurrection of Adolf Hitler in it, which is quite a very interesting thing to see in a Doctor Who book. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one, fantastic place to start off with. For a Virgin New Adventure, we have Return of the Living Dad. As I said in my review, this is a very kind of light kind of Doctor Who book to get. A very light Doctor Who book to read, kind of a more of a fun novel and kind of not like hard on sci-fi like The Romance of Crime or what's it called, Lucifer Rising. So yeah, Return of the Living Dad, again another good place to start off with. If you want to get into these Virgin New Adventures, I would say read Human Nature and Return of the Living Dad. So yeah, and also it's a really good place to start your journey with Doctor Who books, I would say. Not the cheapest to get hold of, I managed to get this fairly cheap, a little bit less than £10, which is well worth it, because this is a really fantastic Doctor Who book. Also definitely worth it for this fabulous cover art. If you want a bit more on my opinion on this book, go check out my review. For 50th anniversary collection books, we have Dreams of Empire. Again, another good place to start with your journey of Doctor Who books. Yeah, fantastic Doctor Who book this one is. I'm very tempted to give it a 9 out of 10, but I think that might be a bit too much. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, the first Doctor Who book I read in 2015, and fantastic Doctor Who book this one is. If you're a fan of Patrick Troughton, this one is an absolute must, because Justin Richards because just so much of the depiction of Patrick Troughton in this book is just beyond words. It's so good. It's I'm pretty sure. Well, Jasmine Mitchell's depiction of Patrick Troughton in this book is absolutely fantastic, and fantastic place to start off with the Doctor Who books. Would definitely recommend that one. Also from the 50th anniversary collection, I'd recommend Last of the Gathering, the adaptation of what was going to be the final game if it wasn't for Roger Delgado's untimely death. If you didn't know, Planet of the Spiders was actually kind of a replacement story for a Doctor Who TV story called The Final Game, which would have seen Jon Pertwee having a big old showdown with the Master for this final story, which has been so epic to see. But unfortunately for Roger Delgado's untimely death, we never got to see that story come to life until Mark Gatiss wrote this novel. This is an adaptation of the final game, and it's absolutely incredible, an absolutely essential Doctor Who book to get in your collection. And I would say, be a fan of the Jon Pertwee kind of era. It's absolutely fantastic and has all of the ingredients of a very good Jon Pertwee story. So yeah, good place to start, and an absolutely fantastic third Doctor novel. Would highly recommend Last. But other Doctor Who books that I would recommend that I would say are good kind of like starters are all of these new series novels right here, and they are Prisoner of the Daleks, probably the most well-known and most famous new series Doctor Who book. Recently got republished is a Monster collection reprint, which I have not got in my collection, but probably will sometime soon. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. If you know me, I just freaking love Daleks Master Plan. It's the national anthem of this channel. From memory, this book rivals Master Plan for me, and that is really saying something. Prison of the Daleks, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who novel, and I would say it's a great place to start Doctor Who book journey. Next up, I recommend the quick reads Code of Krillitanes. I think this one's a bit of a Marmite one actually. I'm not sure if too many people, not sure really what the general consensus is on this book, but personally I think it's absolutely fantastic. As you would expect, it's a quick read, which is and it's a very thin book, which is what you would expect from a quick reads, and absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. I would say this is a good place to start. So yeah, I would say this is a good place to start with your Doctor Who books. And if you're a fan of Krillitanes, definitely check this book out, because it does expand on their mythology and their kind of universe a lot, and gives them a bit more kind of detail and whatnot about their species and whatnot, and what Krillitanes can actually do and whatnot. Very interesting Doctor Who read, this one, and I would highly recommend it. Now to it's great for starters. Next up, I would recommend the entirety of Peter Capaldi Wave 1, The Crawling Terror, Silhouette, and The Blood Cell. All three of these Doctor Who books are absolutely fantastic and a great start for the Peter Capaldi new series Doctor Who books. The Crawling Terror, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who novel. The weakest out of the three Peter Capaldi books in Wave 1, but still an absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book in my personal opinion. If you like stories like Planet of the Spiders and The Green Death, with like huge kind of I don't even say the word planet actually. I would say if you like those kind of stories with like huge kind of insects and whatnot, you'd probably fall in love with this book. Absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. Weakest out of Wave 1 for me, but fantastic Doctor Who book nonetheless. I would recommend The Crawling Terror. Silhouette. Again, another fantastic one. It's really hard to pick between this and The Blood Cell as the best books from Wave 1 of the Peter Capaldi books, but absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. I would highly recommend this one, and I think this actually might be the debut novel for the Paternoster Gang. I'm not sure on that, but I think it might be correct. So, and I would definitely say if you like the Paternoster Gang, which kind of have mixed feelings about, they're interesting, but it completely devalues what's supposed to be threatening Doctor Who monsters. So the new series pretty much rates all that was good of the Sontaran and Silurians anyway, to death really. But anyways, if you like the Paternoster Gang, I would recommend this book, and also it's a very kind of nice general read. So yeah, really good Doctor Who book, I'd recommend that one. And finally in Peter Capaldi Wave 1 we have The Blood Cell. Fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. Really would recommend this one. So yeah, probably the best out of Peter Capaldi Wave 1. Absolutely fantastic and very interesting Doctor Who novel. Would have been nice if it was Peter Judoon in this book, because it's kind of that kind of a story with like a huge kind of space prisoner and whatnot. I think this kind of reminded me of the I can't remember what it was called, but the I want to say the Paradox Institute, but the place the Doctor and Donna go in Stolen Earth. I can't remember what it was called. With the creepy vampire lady. So yeah, Blood Cell, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. I would recommend this one, and I would say it's a great start to Doctor Who books. Also for new series books, I have to recommend Engines of War. Absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. It's set in the last half of the Time War, and it's a very interesting look into what actually happened during the Time War, in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. Again, this one's practically essential to read. I hope with Big Finish doing their brand new All Doctor series of audios, I hope that doesn't pretty much toss out the window the idea of a Doctor Who novel taking place during the first half of the Time War, because that'd be very interesting to see, because this novel pretty much occupies the second half of the Time War, so you've got quite a bit of a gap for a somewhat kind of prequel to this book, which would be very interesting to see. So yeah, Engines of War, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, and it's another one that I would highly recommend. I would also say, if you want to start off with Doctor Who novels, I would say Target novelisations are a really good place to start. So yeah, for Target novelisations, I would recommend The Abominable Snowmen. Absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. Really did enjoy it. Quite odd illustrations of Jamie and Victoria on the cover. You can see those. But yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. And it's another one I would highly recommend. Really good place to start with your Doctor Who book journey, like I've said numerous times in this video already. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. I would recommend this one. I'd also recommend the first Doctor Who book I have ever read, which is a Target novelisation, Doctor Who and the Ice Warriors. A much better, from my memory, I would say that this is a much better version of the television story. I remember not enjoying the television story too much, but somehow Brian Hale has managed to do an even better adaptation in a book form, which is kind of surprising considering he's the same person that wrote the television story. But anyways, Doctor Who and the Ice Warriors, fantastic Doctor Who novelisation, good place to start, and I would highly recommend it. Same with Doctor Who and the Three Doctors, really good Doctor Who book in my opinion. I would highly recommend this one. So yeah. So yeah, Doctor Who, the Three Doctors, fantastic Doctor Who book in my personal opinion. I would highly recommend it. Really good place to start. Yeah, really fantastic Doctor Who book in my opinion. I haven't seen the TV story yet, but yeah, I really enjoyed Doctor Who and the Free Target novelisation. It was a really good read and I'd recommend it. For other Target novelisations, I would recommend Marco Polo. Fantastic read, this one. Quite a truncated version of the actual TV story, so I would say if you found the original television story to be quite slow, check this out because you might enjoy it a lot more. It's a lot more truncated. Two quite rare ones coming up now, and that is the Daleks Master Plan Part 1 Mission to the Unknown and the Mutation of Time, and the Daleks Master Plan Part 2 The Mutation of Time. Yeah, both of these are actually fantastic Doctor Who books. Yeah, Mission to the Unknown is a lot better than this one. But yeah, both are still absolutely fantastic. I've been tracking down for a good price like I did. I got both of these pretty much brand new for only £20, which is fantastic for me. So yeah, Mission to the Unknown, absolutely fantastic target novelisation, and Mutation of Time is also good, but this one is a lot better. I would say these are a really good place to start for your Doctor Who book journey. I would also recommend the target novelisations, Doctor Who and the Invisible Enemy. Fantastic Doctor Who target novelisation. This one I really did enjoy this one. Quite a light read, it's only like 112 pages long. Oh, it's even shorter, 110 pages even, which is quite nice. Yeah, really thin Doctor Who book. I'd say this is a good place to start. Your Doctor Who book journey. Yeah, really good Doctor Who book. I recommend that one. I would also recommend The Invasion. Not the best target novelisation out there. I personally think the TV story is a lot better. But I would still highly recommend this one. It's a quite an interesting read. Only a 7 out of 10, but I still say this one is worth checking out. And fuck, that's scary. That was just a whole bunch of Doctor Who books falling to the floor. One of those little guys down there, just falling on the floor. But yeah, I would also say if you can actually stomach the actual sheer length of this book, I would say Shada is a really good Doctor Who book to start off with. As you can see, it's an enormous Doctor Who book, about 420 pages long. Somehow I got through this in only 9 days. I have no idea how I managed to do that, but I got through it in 9 days. Yeah, I would highly recommend this Doctor Who book, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I would highly recommend that, and I'd say it's a good place to start off with. Bit of these other Doctor Who books I would recommend. These are kind of more the Doctor Who books now that are kind of more harder in terms of their genres, and ones that I wouldn't say ones I wouldn't say are the best to start off with. I think there might be a couple in here, but I'll point them out if you think so. But anyway, first book in this little segment is a rather graphic Doctor Who book, one that doesn't see the Doctor at all, or the specific Doctor in this book. Ten Aliens. As I said, this is quite a violent Doctor Who novel, and it really doesn't kind of suit the first Doctor at all being in this story, because it's a very violent book, and the first Doctor wasn't necessarily a violent Doctor, or necessarily had a violent either, and it's more of a Sixth Doctor book, so it isn't really a First Doctor book, but still nonetheless, this is one Doctor Who book I would highly recommend. Very kind of hard on science fiction kind of novel, so yeah, that's that. 10 of Aliens, would recommend it. Next up we have what is quite possibly my favourite Doctor Who book of all time, and that is The Witch Hunters by Steve Niles. Words cannot even begin to describe how incredible this Doctor Who book is. I'm not going to really say too much on this book because I reviewed it, but also, if you are thinking of buying this book, don't look up any reviews. Just go out there, buy the book, and try and read it as blindly as you can. Because if you do read this with practically no expectations, you are in for one hell of a treat. Seriously, it's just incredible. I really don't want to say too much more on it because it is one Doctor Who book which I would say you do need to go in blind, and I can't wait to reread the history collection, which I probably will do sometime soon. So yeah, next up is another Doctor Who book that is from the history collection. It's one that I would highly recommend, quite a thick one, The Roundhead by Moff Gattis. Basically, this is Doctor Who The Smugglers, but with, instead of the first Doctor, it's the second Doctor, and the Smugglers on a much grander scale. So yeah, it's basically the Smugglers again, but with the second Doctor instead of the first Doctor, the addition of Jamie, and it being on a much grander scale. Fantastic historical book, this one actually. I would just highly recommend this one. It's absolutely fantastic. Really good second Doctor novel. The second Doctor himself doesn't get too much, to do too much in this novel at all. Really, he's more kind of he's a bit sidelined reading this book, and it's more kind of a book for the companions, Jamie, Ben, and Polly. But yeah, fantastic Doctor Who book. I would highly recommend it, and I'm thinking of giving it much of a 9 out of 10 today. Actually, it's a fantastic Doctor Who book. Next up, we have, moving out of reprints now, we have City at World's End by Christopher Eulis, one that Doctor Forever recently reviewed. Yeah, he did. Absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, basically the Inferno of the First Doctor era, kind of an apocalyptic end of the world story. Fantastic fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. Very compelling, and very well written, and fantastic plot as well. Let me just yeah, fantastic plot, very compelling, fantastic writing. Got through this in about a week. Absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, would highly recommend that. Next up we have The Devil Goblins from Neptune, which I have 2 copies of, because I do. The Devil Goblins from Neptune, definitely one that you shouldn't start off with, I don't think. I think you should go for some of the other Doctor Who books first that I showed before this segment, because this is kind of a rather gruesome Doctor Who story, this one. Very kind of gruesome thing at the end though, which really did make me squirm. But fantastic Doctor Who book nonetheless. I would still give it an 8 out of 10. Fantastic Doctor Who book if you like your Jon Pertwee stories, and even if you like Season 7 in general. I would highly recommend this book. It feels like what if Season 7 had 5 stories, and that this would be the 5th story, if you get what I mean. Fantastic Doctor Who book, highly recommended for all Jon Pertwee fans, but not for Painful Hearts. Next up we have the 100th BBC Doctor Who novel, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Want to have the experience of LSD without actually doing LSD? This book is for you. Seriously, this book is a real drug trip. It is so surreal and just out of this world and bizarre, and it's one of my favourite Doctor Who books. I think. I'm not too sure where I'd rate it exactly. Might make my top 5. I don't think it will make my top 5 actually, but fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. Like I said, an absolute drug trip, but fantastic Doctor Who book nonetheless. This is one I would highly recommend. Fantastic Doctor Who book, would highly recommend it. And it's got some very surreal concepts and whatnot in it. Kind of sidestepping into more Virgin territory now. We have The Power of the Daleks target novelisation. I think I could have included this earlier on in my target novelisations recommendations, but if you find this Doctor Who book for a really cheap price, for like £15, even £20, I got this for £20, and it was well worth it. somewhere we bought it for about £25 actually. But yeah, £25, I think was what I spent on it. Was an absolutely fantastic price to pay for it. It might sound a lot, £25, but 25 for this book is like worth any price really. Well, maybe not £1,000, but Power of the Daleks, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. If you can track it down, I would highly recommend it. So yeah, really good Doctor Who book, I'd highly recommend it. Absolutely fantastic target novelisation, and it's a great way to experience a Doctor Who story you may never ever get to see again, unfortunately. But hopefully that will change one day, and we do get to find Power of the Daleks, and we get to see Power of the Daleks on video one day. But anyway, Power of the Daleks, if you can track it down, I would highly recommend this book. Moving on to a few more books before we get into non-fiction Doctor Who books. We have now this one and the Witch Hunters are, I think, almost tied as my favourite Doctor Who book of all time. This one is absolutely incredible, and like the Power of the Daleks target novelisation, it's a book that is worth paying high prices for. I'm of course talking about The Romance of Crime. I found this for only £3 in a second-hand bookshop, but if you find it for even higher than that, like 5 times the price, it's well worth it. It's absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. Quite a ridiculous story of some kind of concept like the Rock of Judgment, which is a core prison and a face of execution built into a quantum-powered asteroid. And yeah, it's got some ridiculous concepts, and it's just an epic Doctor Who novel, and I can't recommend this one enough. If you can track it down, just get this one. It's so good. Next up, we have to talk about The Plotters, a book by Gareth Roberts, which is definitely not the last, which is definitely not the first Gareth Roberts book in this little update. But yeah, Gareth Roberts is an absolutely fantastic Doctor Who writer, and he's one of the best Doctor Who writers ever, and he certainly has written an absolutely fantastic Doctor Who historical right here. Basically, it's a take on Guy Fawkes and that the TARDIS crew land during the time of Guy Fawkes, London, November 1605, the time of the Parliament attacks and whatnot, and very interesting Doctor Who story. This one of the few Virgin books with some actual pictures in it, which is quite interesting. Yeah, overall an absolutely fantastic and very engaging historical book, and I would highly recommend it. A few other Virgin books now. We have Toy Soldiers by Paul Leonard. A very nice kind of quick little, easy to read historical book. It's only like 250 pages long. For some reason I managed to get through the first 100 pages in one day, but it took like nearly 2 weeks to finish the book for some reason. But anyways, Toy Soldiers by Paul Leonard, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book with some very interesting concepts. Although, if you are thinking of getting this book, I will warn you, there is some conceptual use of the N-word in this book, which is quite shocking to see, but fantastic Doctor Who book nonetheless, and I highly recommend it. Next up, we have the only Doctor Who book that I've read more than once, Bad Therapy by Matthew Jones, a Virgin New Adventure, one of the later Virgin New Adventures. If you can track down this book, I would just get it. It's so good. It's kind of, I guess you could say, kind of in a way, it's a Seventh Doctor Auton story with a few other concepts in it, like an asylum and I think rituals in some places. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. This was my first ever Virgin New Adventure I read, and I think it got me hooked on it really. It was such a good time. But anyways, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, this one. I would highly recommend it. Yeah, I would highly recommend this book, sorry about that. I would highly recommend this book, and it's very interesting to watch or read the character interactions between the Seventh Doctor and Christopher Quach in this book. Because in this book their relationship is really tested quite a bit, and that's absolutely fascinating to read. And yeah, I would highly recommend this book, absolutely fantastic. For the spin-off Doctor Who book, we have Lethbridge Stewart, The Forgotten Son. Basically, if you like The Web of Fear, I would highly recommend this book. It feels like the Web of Fear went on for a lot longer. It's basically the aftermath story of The Web of Fear. Absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. I would highly recommend this, and if you're a big Yeti fan, a big fan of the Yetis like I am, and you want to see more of this, and you want to experience some more stories of theirs, this is one Doctor Who book I'd highly recommend checking out. Although I would say you do need to watch The Web of Fear before reading this book, because this book is very highly connected to this book. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, I'd highly recommend it. Now we're going to be moving on to non-fiction Doctor Who books, and then I have to do this section all over again because I deleted it like an idiot. Anyways, on to non-fiction Doctor Who books, where Mark Campbell, the episode guide. If you want a complete or semi-complete up until when this book is published, guide to Doctor Who, I would highly recommend this Doctor Who book. One of the few Doctor Who books in my collection that I would consider giving a 10 out of 10 to, and it's absolutely a fantastic Doctor Who book in my personal opinion. Really love this book. I can't recommend it enough. Absolutely fantastic. Next up we have a brick known as Whology. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. This one, quite an expensive one, but I would say it's well worth the $12.99. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book in my personal opinion. I would highly recommend it. Pretty much the Bible of Doctor Who knowledge. It gives you all sorts of really interesting little things in it. Yeah, it even gives you kind of like if a story mentioned its own title in itself, this book gives you kind of like the actual kind of quote and the actual kind of time it mentions its title in. So like for example, in the Daleks Master Plan episode 4, that the traitors at 10 minutes and 16 seconds, Maverick Chen said, if the traitors are not caught in landing zone, then suspected for something found. And episode 2 from the Dalek Invasion of Earth, the Daleks at 2 minutes and 25 seconds, a Dalek says, survivors of London, the Daleks are the Masters of Earth, and you get the kind of picture. So yeah, it even gives a total run time of Doctor Who, of television Doctor Who up until Snowmen, which is 362 hours, 53 minutes and 54 seconds, or 21,773.9 minutes of Doctor Who, or 1,306,434 seconds per. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book, pretty much the Bible of Doctor Who knowledge. I would highly recommend it. Next up we have a history in the universe of 100 objects. A history of the universe of 100 objects. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book. It's one I found in the charity shop, and it basically gives you kind of interesting kind of concept artwork of various objects in the Doctor Who, for example, a Sontaran scout ship, and gives you a bit of info on that object, which is really interesting. So yeah, I would highly recommend that. Final Doctor Who book I'm going to be recommending in this video is The Vault, an absolutely astronomically huge Doctor Who book. So yeah, retail price of this is £30. I managed to get it for only 15 in the works, and I would say £30 is worth spending on this book. It's so good. Basically gives you a year-by-year guide to Doctor Who up until 2013. It's like you get a few pages on like 1984 with like details about it and whatnot. So yeah, and it does that for every single year of Doctor Who, which is really interesting to see. So yeah, Doctor Who The Vault, absolutely fantastic book. I would highly recommend it. And that finally concludes my 250 subscriber special. Thank you guys so much again for 250 subscribers. It really means a lot. Thank you so much for 250 subscribers. It just shows that people are interested in my channel and want to keep seeing more content, which really does motivate me a lot. So yeah, so like, fair, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Picture got black. Dematerializing. To start off this video, I'm going to be starting off with today in this